this one.
Hey there, community. We got you in frame. Sweet.
Yep, kind of.
Okay.
So, welcome to another Tuesday education stream. So what are we talking about today, Brian?
So today, we are going over part 2 of how to make an inventory. If you remember from 2 weeks ago, we went through just all of the visual aesthetics of how to make a good inventory. Now we're going to go through how to actually add stuff into your inventory and how to actually kind of, you pick up something and it gets added to this inventory and then you get to view it in your little inventory viewer. I'm going to, there's a lot of different ways to build out an inventory system. And this is just a recap of sort of where we left off last week. Or not last week, but 2 weeks ago. So we have this little inventory viewer here. We can kind of equip armor, equip helmets, equip weapons, and then kind of view it all. And so that's all nice. But I have that all hard-coded, so every time I jump in and out, then I go back in and I have the exact same 5 items. Let's jump back out. So we have our 5 items here in world, and I want to actually pick these things up, and then they get added to my inventory. So we're going to run through how to do that.
It's a really small bucket.
Well, it's a bucket head.
It's going to be an... Oh, it's... Okay.
Yeah, it's bucket helmet.
It looked really small when you walked up next to you. I was like, I don't think that would be able to fit anywhere. But yeah, that actually makes sense.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. So, if you remember from last time, we have a few logic cubes here. We have our inventory... Oh, loud typing. Okay, so we have our inventory selection. Well, this mic picks up these keyboards like crazy.
Okay. We'll move the mic as far away as possible.
Yeah. All right, so we have our inventory selection, and then we have our inventory UI. So inventory selection, this is how we actually were setting everything that's in the inventory, and then creating our player preview, and then previewing our stuff on the player. And then the UI was just I didn't really go too much into detail because it's just setting on-screen vector positions for all the different stuff that make the inventory thing. And I think we can share this out maybe after, I'm thinking this might even need a part 3. So we'll see. So maybe after part 3, we can do that. And then we have our little, this is the position that the player's put at, and then this is the camera for the player. So the very first thing you want to do is we got our items right here. And these items, remember last week I didn't make them templates. A lot of times people make these templates. And the reason why is because I want these items to be picked up in the world. So we go into our items, and just as a recap, in each of our items we set how much they're worth. That's kind of the amount of gold they're worth. Now this is just a random stat I chose. You can choose, its attack, its defense, whatever you want. I just wanted to have a random stat that's displayed. I added to this object set called weapons, or basically whatever is whatever that thing is. So if it's a helmet, then it would be added to this global helmet set. If it's a piece of armor, it's added to the global armor set. And then preview is when I'm previewing this. So when I'm previewing something, and then it creates a version of itself. It sets the position of that thing so that it's in a very nice preview state, and then with each item it sets it to the perfect point on the player. And yeah, camera gizmos are a great thing to use for cameras.
The best thing is you can tell what direction it's facing
exactly. Yeah. Without, just by looking. So, in each of our objects, I'm going to insert a new page. We're going to start out with a page. And let's add a sword right here, just like a default sword, because I'm going to steal the SparkBrian from this. So just take any standard SparkBrian that just says when something's not equipped, when you interact with it, you equip it. And we're going to take that logic and apply it for an inventory. So let's just delete this thing. So the only difference is when not equipped and not attached, instead of saying equip it, when interacted, I am instead going to go to my inventory folder and say pick up me. And pick up basically adds this thing to your default inventory. The great thing about Project Spark is it has this kind of inventory system that's built in a bit that I haven't seen people use too often, but it's really useful.
It's pretty powerful, actually, yeah.
It basically adds it within sort of an object set within the player that you can then reference. These items still exist in the world. They still run in the world. They're just kind of hidden within this player. So it allows for some really useful things. So we're just going to copy that and put this into each one of these.
That's a good question, just because I haven't really thought about it. I'm already saying my question's good before I even asked it. So if you do a pickup for an item, will its brain continue to run?
Yes, it will.
Interesting. Okay.
Depending on what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it should keep on running.
Okay.
That item is still in the world, and it's still active.
Yep. Okay.
So if you have, I don't know, if it's like a logic cube running different events, like say when this thing happens, it makes a Boolean true. That would still be running.
Gotcha.
I'm curious. I've never actually tested to see though, like if it's a character and you put the character in your inventory and they're attacking you. I've never checked to see what that does.
Well, I mean, it's in the world technically running, but it's not like
it's not physically in the world, so it probably would no longer attack you.
It
because
would probably have no
body.
physical or combat actions.
So there are parts of the brain, I guess, that technically couldn't run because this thing isn't in the world, so it can't physically attack.
I would probably recommend, at least what I've done with inventory stuff before, is like in the objects, I'll like have it switch page to a blank page when it goes into an inventory, just to be sure. That
really?
Yeah. You don't have to like do this in this example, but
I've done
that in before to prevent any.
I'm doing the exact opposite actually.
Oh.
When it's in my inventory, I switch to a not blank page, a very not blank page. All right, so when on this thing, when it's held in the inventory, then I am going to switch to page. Next page.
Oh, this is gonna have all your preview logic.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
So all the preview logic isn't running, doesn't care about that, because I'm going to do something else also. So within each one of these, I'm just going to have this. When it's in this inventory, then I switch to the next page. Alrighty, so that's actually all we really need to do with inventory. Is
as far as picking it up.
Yeah. The great thing about inventory, let's just kind of quickly look at inventory. So you have some cool stuff. You can reference all the objects in an inventory. You can give something from one inventory to another inventory. You can pick up something and add it to your inventory, and then you can drop something out of your inventory. And this default stuff kind of works out the get-go. So like you drop that sword, falls out of your inventory. And then it's no longer in your inventory, it's back in the world. But the only thing that we really need to worry about is picking something up and adding it to your inventory. That's what I'm thinking. That's why I'm thinking we might do part 3 of sort of like an inventory management system, maybe. I don't know. Let us know in the comment section if you guys, at the end of this, if you want sort of like an inventory management system, or if this gives you enough to make your own inventory. You let us know. All right, so we have that within each one of these.
Before you get starting a brand new thing, just want to let you know you can get attacked from inside your own inventory.
Oh, you can?
You can.
Whoa, nice.
That's pretty entertaining.
That's pretty awesome.
So your character just starts having hit reactions out of nowhere.
That's pretty cool. All right, so we're going into my world. We're picking these guys up. Bam, 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 bam. All right, they're all picked up. Go into my inventory. They're still there. So this is where the things get kind of interesting. This is what I've noticed is when something is added to your inventory, its position changes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's another thing you have to keep in mind. So the like orientation of things, except for some reason weapons are like fine.
Well, in that one too, you like set it very specifically. I thought.
Yeah, exactly. I set like it's forward and such.
Yeah.
So and this guy will
doing
just
this all day, and this is awesome.
I think he'll be different depending on where I am and what other things I have equipped. So like that
because that one you're actually dynamically switching the character out. because we talked
Right,
about that last
exactly.
time with the characters.
So this character is kind of in my inventory. So that's just another thing that you'll have to worry about, and I'll have to compensate for, is when something's added to your inventory, its default like positioning of its forward and its up and its down are different. As Mescad put it, they probably put it sideways so it fits in your pocket. That's exactly what we did. So
we're so clever. Well, Mescad is.
Yeah. So instead, I think I just need to add here. So like, this is my helmet. I'm just going to say selected up equals global players up, and then that should. I think if I just set all these. Oh right, this one is upside down, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
That's upside down. So this one will be the exact opposite. Selected down equals global player preview down. Then with this one, we're going to say selected up equals global player preview up, and then same with this thing. So this is just, something to keep in mind. Probably something you guys didn't really know is the positions do change in the inventory. And good question in chat. When we release this, we do plan to remove. We have a few DLC items, so we plan to move those and switch in some other things. So look at that. We have the positions are now correct. Yay! So just keep that in mind when you're setting stuff. Is just make sure that the forward is forward. Okay,
Cool.
So we have that. We have those in our inventory, but I have my inventory hard coded. So I'm totally cheating right now because you go over here, and I'm just literally setting my first item is equal to this exact thing in the world. My second item is equal to this exact thing in the world. My third item is equal to this exact thing in the world, and so on and so forth. So that's completely cheating because you want it to be that when you pick something up, it's just automatically added as an item to your inventory. So we're going to break stuff, but we're going to fix it in a bit.
That's the best way to go about it. You break it first.
Yeah. So the thing that we're going to do here is we're going to add a new object set. And we're going to call this object set inventory. And we're going to have each of these items, once they are held in your inventory, they're going to be added to this object set of inventory. So we go in here.
Cool. So question right out of the bat. Why are we defining our own inventory versus just using the object set inventory that would be like by default?
You can call index in a more useful way from our object sets than what we're doing. And I'm going to be using index. I'm going to be exposing actually some things about index I don't think anyone knows.
Yeah.
So this should be interesting. Hearing
it was interesting when I heard it earlier today. So
hearing kind of about how index actually works in our game and how actually there is an order to it. It's just not the order you'd ever expect, but how you can use that as an exploit to set an ordered list. So bam. So why am I going to test? Nothing has really changed. I've just added these things into this new object set called inventory. So now, first thing we're going to do, all this hard-coded stuff is going to be taken from the first page, brought onto this page. Let's just put that down. Let's delete it from here. All right, so this is like my second page. When the inventory is active, all this stuff runs. So we want all this stuff to run very beginning of the page. All right, so my selection of logs default back to 1. Now, we bring in that global object set known as inventory. And we say for each of all items that are currently within there. So basically, as soon as my inventory is activated, I'm calling this page active. And when it's activated, I am going to loop through everything that's currently within the inventory. Going back, if you remember, the only way that something's added to your inventory is if it's held in your inventory, because then it switches to page, next page.
Nice.
So let's go back down. All right, for each of global inventory, when current index is equal to 1, then global item 1 equals it. So current index, what the heck is current index? That looks for what item you're currently on within your for each of loop. So for each of, what that means, this is going through, it's basically looping through every single item in whatever you're defining. So here, it's for each of all items in your global inventory. So every item in this object set has an index. It's a numbered index. If you have 5 items, then your index numbers are 1 through 5. So you can reference by having this as a child line under for each of, when you go to timing and logic, the second page, you'll see this new line called current index. And so we can say when that is equal to 2, then global item 2 equals it. And then I'm just going to kind of copy this down so we get through all 5 of our items. So I'm doing this in a way where I'm actually setting, when my current index is equal to itself. That will lead to some interesting results. So in this example, I am creating an inventory that has a set of 5 items in it, basically.
So you are defining the length of it.
Yeah, correct? I'm defining the length of it by just defining these object variables only equal up to 5 in the index. And I can show later on how to constrain it so you can only pick up 5 stuff from your index.
Yeah, that's cool. That makes sense. And like on like your display too, if you have 9 lines, then you would want maybe your index to have just 9 slots for different items, and then you basically hit your total your encumbrance or whatever if you have 9 things.
Yep.
Whatever.
Okay.
Cool.
So, this should be it. So now, instead of just hard referencing and saying that my item 1 is equal to my bucket head, and my item 2 is equal to my sword, my item 3 is equal to my chest plate. Instead, I am setting, when I'm running through this index, I only want 5 items. I currently have 5 items in the world. So when I'm at that index, so that item within the list, then this object variable is going to be equal to that. So the first item on the list, this object variable called global item 1 is going to be equal to it. Second item on the list, global object variable item 2 is going to be equal to it, and so on and so forth. And so I'm just basically running through all those 5 things on the list and then setting each one to be a number variable, or sorry, an object variable. All right, so let's go out and let's grab these guys now. And let's go in, and they are correctly in here. So let's start talking about the interesting part of how object sets work and how their index works in Project Spark. These are not an ordered list. That's a key thing you guys should know, is our object sets are not in an ordered list. So, to illustrate that, you would think I'm adding this item to my object set. And so the very first item would be like the last one shown or the first one shown. So we're picking up the bucket head first. We're then going to pick up my sword. we're then going to pick up just this chest plate, that chest plate, and the helmet. So helmet was last, bucket head was first. So you see that randomly the helmet and bucket head are just in the middle of the list. So those didn't look at when I actually added them to the list. They were looking at something else. So what were they looking at? So the way that our indexing works is every single time you add an item into the world. So right now, I'm going to drop this item in the world. Bam. Every single time you add an item to a world, it is added to this. Think about it like a global index of kind of a list of every single object in your world. That is slotted. Now, I'm just talking about an edit mode now because we're then going to talk about what happens when you create stuff in real time. But that is slotted into this list. It actually is, in that case, an ordered list of like the ordering of when something was added into the world. And that is actually what our index bases its ordering on. So, from our stream last time, this guy was added in last. Like this guy with chest plate, he was sort of, we had a few extra minutes and we were like, what happens when it looks like we have, when we have a character, and what does that look like? So he was added very last, so that means no matter how I pick stuff up, so let's just pick all these things up, he is going to be last on this list too, because he was added in last in the world. So let's add in a new sword. We'll call this one let's call this one Sharper Thing. And I don't think I need to, right, I do need to copy this code right here. All right, copy the first page. Let's grab the second page here. And alrighty. So we have a new sword called Sharper Thing. I'm just going to put this off on the side. So now we go along, collect our stuff. And let's get some of these first. And then let's get the sword, and then let's get this bucket. So, Sharper Thing is last on the list. And that's where it'll always be, no matter when I pick it up. Let's restart. Let's instead pick up this item first, and then this other sword, and then him, and the bucket head, and then the chest plate. Go into test again, and Sharper Thing is again very last in the list. So it's always going to be based on when something was added into the world, with a caveat. So here's where sort of that idea can break, is during runtime. Let me think of the best way to do this. All right, I'm gonna do a visual illustration for you guys. Okay, so let's just say each of these counts as an object. And please let me know in chat if this starts getting confusing. Let us know in the comment section. We can kind of explain this a bit better. All right, but you add a bunch of objects to your world. So you add this object, and that one, that one. So we have a grocery list of 5 objects. And I'm just going to change out the coloring of each of them so that you can kind of tell the difference between them. And we'll make this one like orange. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, so we got our 5 little guys right here. We add in the 6th guy during runtime. So we have kind of our index of basically 5 items in the world. During runtime, you create a 6th object. It's added to this very end of the list. Say during runtime, while you're playing the game, the 2nd guy is deleted. Bye-bye. You create another object. What this looks for is it looks through your index, it looks through everything numbered, and it's like, hey, no one's in slot number 2. All right, I'm taking that slot number 2. So now this item will be in slot number 2. That makes sense. So then let's bring in, say, 2 objects here. And let's bring this guy back. Okay. So, all right, say we have 2 objects that were created, which would appear in slot number 6 and 7. So then, during runtime, we have item number 4 and item number 2 are both destroyed. Actually, we're going to say like 3 objects are created. So when these 3 objects are created, here's the ordering. First, it'll fill up slot number 4, or index number 4. Then it's going to look through, and it's going to... So first it kind of looks through like all the current indexes, and it's like 4 is the best one for me to choose. Nothing's in that slot. I'm taking that over. And then the next one's like, well, 2 is good for me, so the next one's created would take the slot 2. And then the next one would say, slot number 6, that's the next full one, because nothing's ever taken it. That's mine.
Gotcha. So it would fill in the gaps pretty much from bottom to top.
Exactly.
What got destroyed lowest on the index first, and then go back up. Okay.
Yeah, so that's like that's the thing that makes it it makes it hard for you to track, and it basically does make object sets an unordered list, but there is an order to the madness, and I wanted to bring that up during this, so you guys, if you really want to expose that, then you can do some interesting things with that. Because the thing that I thought of as soon as I realized that it basically it's based on whatever's created in runtime is, all right, sorry, sharper thing. Actually, we'll keep you in just for illustration standpoint. All right, so let's go just back into test. So we grab all these guys. Oops, sorry, dude. And sharp pointy thing. All right, so these things are always going to be in the same ordering, no matter what. And like honestly, I would say if you do not care about what order items are in your inventory, congratulations, we've completed our tutorial. So if you do care about the order your items appear in your inventory, this is where we go crazy, because a smart person might say, build a linked list. And if you don't know what a linked list is, there is a great tutorial by Mescad, who's in chat with us. Mescad has come out with the Project Spark linked list tutorial, brings you through how to create a linked list and basically how to create ordering of items through a linked list. That's a great way to do things. We're going to do the not great way of doing things here. I'm going to do things in the not great way of exploiting knowing how our indexing works, and creating something interesting based off that. All right, so here's where we go off the deep end and where I ran into issues with it earlier. Let's see if I do the same thing again. All right, so when you've interacted with this thing, first, what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to create a piece of land here.
That was not what I was going to guess.
Yeah. I'm going to make...
This is required. So as you're building your guys' own inventory, you have to also create a piece of land.
It's like it's like Pokemon, where you had to go and talk with a person in Pallet Town and then go to Cinnabar Island to find Missing No.
It
Like
was
that kind of thing?
it was Viridian.
Oh, Viridian,
Yeah,
sorry.
you gotta talk to
Viridian.
the old man who teaches you how to catch Pokemon.
Yeah. No, I'm just joking. You don't have to create terrain in order to exploit this. It's just I just want to put my logic cube
Has to be cylinder terrain
off somewhere. So we're gonna call this logic cube junkyard.
Oh, I know exactly what you're doing now.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
The junkyard. That's so awesome.
So when this thing's interacted with, then we're going to create. Actually, first we're going to create a new object set or object variable and just call it new and shiny. I should really, if we're going to share this, I should probably call it something that makes more sense. I'll call this for inventory. And it's going to create itself. And then we're going to say that the thing that's interacted with is going to pick up the for inventory item. And then I am going to go off to the junkyard. Now this is an inefficient way of doing it. Very inefficient way, because then you basically every time you add something to your inventory, a second version of it is spawned. But I kind of want to do crazy stuff right now. All right, so when something's interacted with, then it creates a version of itself, adds that thing into your inventory, and then it sends itself to the junkyard. So it doesn't get destroyed, but it adds this thing to your inventory. This new thing's been created. Nothing has been destroyed, so therefore it's now at the bottom of your list. I'm going to move this thing up here.
So you're exploiting the fact that your order won't change as long as you're not creating and destroying things.
As long as you're not destroying stuff. Destroying something
That's true.
is what basically that's the thing that changes your ordering. So we're going to do that. And we're just going to kind of add this into all of these guys. And so the interesting thing is here's where we ran into issues. So let's see if I do it again. Let's see, there's one of these I didn't put it as a child line. Yeah, here. Okay. So that should do it. They all create a version of themselves, picks it up, and then sends that thing over to the junkyard. So let's go over here. So we are going to pick up so many items right next to each other. Why did I put them so close? Bucket head first. This new sword second. This guy third. The helmet. And then the piece of armor. And let's go in. So Buckethead is first. Let's see.
I don't remember those two.
This thing was second. The armor was third. The helmet was fourth.
Sure
the rusty chest piece was fifth. Yay! So this put it in the very first item I picked up is the very first item on the list. The very last item I picked up is the very last item on the list. It works. So everything is added to the very bottom of your list.
Cool.
So,
and then the trickery is that these guys are getting shoved up to the junkyard.
Yeah. So I think they would still in the junkyard. So that's the fun part. So let's just test it again. We're not going to pick up the bucket first. We are going to pick up this guy first.
Okay.
Then we're going to pick up. Yep. Then we're going to pick up the old sword. So the sharp pointy thing.
Okay.
Then sharper thing. Then helmet. And then bucket head. And Yay! Armor, sharp pointy thing, sharper thing, helmet, bucket head.
Nicely done.
So, this is how you... Basically, we're showing you how to exploit our object variable system to have things in the order you want them to be in.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so basically the first item you ever pick up would be the first item on your list, and the most recent item you picked up would be the last on the list. Now, if you want to do it alphabetically, we'll get to that another time. All right, so the next thing I want to show is how, right now, I can pick up 6 things. So I got 6 things here. I can pick up all 6 of them, and it allows me to pick them all up, and then it just won't display. So I picked up the sharper thing last. It just won't display the sharper thing, but I still was able to pick it up.
Interesting. Okay.
So we want to make it so that if after I have 5 items, my inventory is full.
And you walk slower, and you're like,
Ooh. Do we want to show how to do encumbered, or I mean, they're both pretty simple. We do have 20 minutes left, so I think I might have time to do both.
Yeah.
So first,
do like a little, just like 5 out of 5 in your inventory somewhere, and showing that you have like, you know, that it increases by how many you have in your set.
Yeah, good idea. Okay, so let's put this within my character, or maybe let's put it here. All right, so we're just going to display, partly for debugging, partly for fun. We're going to display the global inventory count, so how many items are in my inventory, and then we're going to display text after that, and it should be /5, so it'll show like blank out of 5. Maybe I'll just put a space in between both of them. And we will show this at screen top right. Just put this on the second page too, so it's always going to be... Oh wait, I call this page. Okay, cool, we're good. So that should always be running. Oh, I need to make it super big. And I actually think it might not show up on the stream page.
The scan wants you to use each object's mass for your encumbrance.
Oh.
You would be able to do that. Actually.
All right, so you guys can see the tip of it. The tip of 0 out of 5.
I can take the frame off.
No, it's our signature, dude. We got to keep with the brand.
I was
man.
always that person who like did not like the frame when I watched the streams. I was always like, I want to see the full screen.
All right, so 5 out of 5, and then go up, and now we have 6 out of 5. Oh, that's no good. All right, so let's just add in a simple line of code here that when global inventory is less than 5, then all this stuff will run. And I can even flash something on the screen quickly that just says like
You're now full.
Inventory full.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And one thing you would like want to do here probably, like, so if you were going to be adjusting that, you know, that number 5 throughout your gameplay, that would be like a variable you'd hold in your character, and like, you know, so it'd be like it item inventory max or something, as opposed to like hard-coded 5. If you're going to plan on adjusting that, you know, through skill tree or, you know, by levels or whatever.
Yeah. So we're going to say, we're just going to put an else here. So when global inventory count is not less than 5, then when something has been interacted with, we're going to just, I guess I'll do this the right way.
That's probably a good strategy.
So we're going to have this new Boolean come true. called inventory full. And when this Boolean inventory full has happened, then for half a second, it's going to display you have too many things in your pockets. And it's going to display this just screen center, extra large, and in red font. And then after, oops. So after a countdown timer of half a second, then we are just going to make inventory full false. All right, so I'm just going to copy this whole page, and I'm going to put this on all of these guys.
For the flash, would it be so you're going to put that on each object as opposed to like on your character?
Yeah, I mean you can. It's probably better in the end to put on your character, right? You want like the key. I mean the key with coding is you want to have everything as centralized as possible.
Yeah.
So this isn't. This is like the down and dirty way of quickly doing it.
This is the on-stream way.
Right, exactly. I would probably have a centralized point. Like you can clean up the code so much better here. Where you could probably have a centralized point of. I would actually probably add a brain onto each of these, and then they would go to their respective pages after that. Oops, I added an extra page here. But, you know, we're on stream, so we're doing this the quicker way.
Cool.
Or you just copy and paste that code. But you can imagine if you have, say, like 50 different swords in your game, that means you have 50 different times you have to recopy your code every time you make changes, right? Yep. That's where things get cumbersome, and that's where AdBrain really comes in handy.
Yep.
All right, so now we go in, we pick these guys up.
I love how you're picking up that character with the armor plate.
And yeah, we can have actually something symbolize him, but I had more fun with him. All right, so then we click on this. You have too many things in your pockets.
Ah!
So there you go.
Like, camera shake and like controller vibrate, and just angry, like
yeah.
Or you would do it the other way, where it allows you to go over the limit, but then it slows you down or whatever.
Yeah, then you'd have like you
can't fast travel.
You are over encumbered.
Yeah.
So I would probably create a brain called over encumbered, and then I would just simply say. Your pace is down to like 0.5. And then I would just have the exact same code here. And I would just add this brain onto this player. So I'm going to make these child lines here, and then it ends with the player getting this over-encumbered brain added to them. So we go over to brains, we go to multi-brain, choose add brain, and then let's pick this brain right here. And I'll just keep it on this one item right here. So we don't have to run through everything again. I probably should have like displayed something that in the bottom screen that says like you are over encumbered, but I can pick this up still, and just slower.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So yeah. All right, so we've kind of gone through in our stream in just 50 minutes.
It's pretty good. Now, you do not have like an ability for like once you're in your inventory and you're looking at it, you're selecting the preview, but you're technically still not adding them to your character.
Right, when you're adding to your character,
dropping them, you're not able to drop them out of your inventory yet.
That is where part 3 comes in.
Nice.
People ask for a trilogy. Nice. I'm doing a trilogy.
I can't wait for it to turn into a saga.
No, I think I'll end it on the trilogy. Yeah, I mean, I realized I could have done that in this stream, but it would have been hard pressed. I really wanted to spend a lot of time on this index idea because it's a really different way of doing things. Mm-hmm. If you want to, just because we don't currently have ordered lists in Project Spark doesn't mean you can't kind of, by understanding how our resources work, create your own version of an ordered list. But, the better way is, I would say, probably linked list, which, again, there's a great YouTube tutorial on there from Mescad about linking lists. So if you don't want to do the crazy exploits of my way, then you can do that. Or, another way of doing it without having to worry about this junkyard I had is, this gets to be more brutal, but if you had, let's just bring out a bunch of swords. So we'll start with the Ancient Codian sword. So again, things based on when you add them into the world are just ordered in that way. So you could technically set up your world so that your inventory items, you just add them to the world in the way you want them to appear. So for instance, you want everything you can pick up in your world, you want it to be ordered alphabetically in your inventory. Well, you could just alphabetically add them to your world. So you do the Codian sword first.
Oh man.
You then do the fighter sword. I
got where you're going.
Do the fighter master sword. You then do this fighter sword, and then you end with Hakon's sword. And so because they were added in that order, they are now going to be. Let's go back into this guy's brain, and.
I think what you're showing off here and just your examples and stuff in general are really good solutions for anybody who's doing an inventory system that's kind of on a micro level. They're going to have 6 to 10 things that ever go into their inventory.
Right.
It's more almost ability or power up kind of. Now, if you have this idea where every enemy's dropping loot and it's coming in and out, and you'll need a more dynamic system for sure.
In that case, then. Don't worry about ordering, or either don't worry about ordering, or look into linked lists.
For sure.
It gets to be pretty confusing when you have a lot of items, though, because then you have to have each item kind of reference each other. Linked lists they take a while to set up. So if you're creating kind of an inventory system and you don't care about how your items are ordered in that inventory, the first 20 minutes of this got you through that. This is just how you go from there.
Create your game as you play? Any Spark can do it. Spark, activate the portals.